Welcome to everyone. Today's event is called Foundations for Equality, Solar Cooking as a Gateway to Women's Opportunity and Participation. It's hosted by Solar Cookers International as a parallel event to the 70th UN Commission on the Status of Women. My name is Sarah Rosen, and I am the Program and Operations Manager at Solar Cookers International, or SCI. I just want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you for joining us from all over the world, and thank you for your interest. We're very happy to have you. A couple of quick housekeeping items before we get started. Today's presentation will be recorded, and it will be shared on both the SCI website and on YouTube. If English captions would be helpful, you can turn those on by selecting Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. And if you don't see that, there should be a More button. Click that and then Captions. Unfortunately, at the moment, only English subtitles are available. We hope to have more in the future, and once the video has been uploaded to YouTube, there will be more language options. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, we invite you to type them into the question and answers tab. We'll try to answer questions in the Q&A tab as we go, and if we have time, we might address a few at the end. I'd also like to thank the NGO Commission on the Status of Women for hosting the forum that we're part of today. And I want to acknowledge the partners, supporters, and funders who make SCI's work possible. It is your support that is the reason that we're able to empower women and bring clean cooking solutions to communities facing limited access and high fuel costs. So I'm very excited to introduce today's program and an impressive group of speakers who really bring a wealth of insight to today's conversation. We will hear from Aryesta Ningrum, the director of the UN Climate Technology Center and Network, who is leading efforts to help countries develop and share climate technologies and turn them into real action under the Paris Agreement. We will hear from Dr. Hortense Traoré, advisory board member to the CTCN and Secretary General for Women Environmental Program, about the importance of access to clean cooking in Burkina Faso. We'll hear from Seydou Coulibaly, Director of Togo Tile, who will give us a glimpse into the collaborative work that's underway now in Mali and the progress so far. We'll hear from John Kamau. We will hear John Kamau highlight the difficulties women in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya face when collecting firewood. And we're really lucky today because we're going to hear a few firsthand reflections directly from program participants themselves. And finally, we will hear from members of the SCI team, including myself, as well as Caitlin Hughes, Executive Director, Alan Bigelow, Science and Program Director, and Vedika Giandani, Communications Specialist. So with that, let's get started. I'd like to begin by outlining the reason that we're here today. So imagine you're starting your day by making breakfast, a normal task that you do every day, but you are cooking over an open fire. And as you cook, smoke fills the air, you cough, your eyes water, and you notice that breathing has become harder lately. The firewood you're using took hours to collect, and maybe you had to walk long distances because wood has become scarce. Maybe the places you had to walk had dangerous terrain or dangerous people. Or maybe wood wasn't available at all, and you had to buy charcoal instead. But charcoal is expensive, and the money you used for fuel was supposed to be for food. It's an impossible choice, food or the ability to cook it. Some version of this scenario is the reality for 2.1 billion people around the world, about a quarter of the world's population, who still cook using polluting fuels like wood, charcoal, kerosene, and animal dung. This problem exists all over the world on every continent, but is most severe in Africa, where 4 out of 5 people lack access to clean cooking fuel. And while it's often discussed as an energy or environmental issue, it is also very much a gender issue. In most of the world, women are primarily responsible for preparing meals. And that means they also carry the greatest burden of the health risks associated with smoke from fires. Because women are also often the primary caregivers, the children who are nearby are also exposed. And the burden extends beyond health. According to the World Bank, in sub-Saharan Africa, women and girls spend more than 2 hours each day collecting firewood. This is time that could otherwise be spent on education, work, community, or rest. And in some regions, the risks are even more serious. In areas of conflict in particular, the threat of assault while collecting firewood can be so great and so common that women sometimes require escorts for protection. The good news is that solutions already exist. And at SCI, we focus on the cleanest option available, solar cooking. So I'm just going to start with some basics because we have a lot of different people with varying degrees of awareness. So I'll just start by defining a solar cooker. It is an appliance that it collects and absorbs sunlight, retaining heat to cook food and pasteurize water. And while they all operate on the same basic principle, there's no one size fits all solution. The best cooker for you is going to be the one that suits your climate, your cooking style, your budget, your mobility, and how many people you're cooking for. Fortunately, with hundreds of different cooker designs available, there's a solar cooker to fit pretty much any situation. And here we see three of the more common types of cookers. On the left, we have a reflective panel cooker, which is usually the most portable and budget friendly. In the middle, we have an example of a box oven, which is quite sturdy and uses reflectors to redirect the sunlight. And on the right, we have a parabolic cooker, which can reach quite high temperatures by concentrating the sunlight on a central point. Solar cookers are often paired with complementary tools such as a retained heat basket, which keeps food warm after you lose the sun because of clouds or it's nighttime, and water pasteurization indicators, which help ensure that water has reached a safe temperature. We see a few more variations here, including Fresnel lens and mirror cookers, which use a series of angled steps or concentric grooves to concentrate sunlight. We also see a couple examples of evacuated tube cookers, which use insulated glass tubes and can cook food pretty quickly and are often well suited for smaller meals. And solar cooking is not limited to individual homes or smaller settings. Large institutional systems are used in schools, restaurants, community kitchens, and food production facilities. The system shown here is located at the Shirdi Sai Baba temple in India, and it uses dozens of rooftop solar reflectors to concentrate sunlight and generate steam for cooking. At full capacity, this system that we're looking at here can prepare 40 to 50,000 meals a day. So why solar cooking? It offers a remarkable combination of benefits. Because it relies only on sunlight, there are no fuel costs, there's no smoke, and there's no emissions. By reducing dependence on wood and charcoal, it can help slow deforestation and reduce pressure on fragile ecosystems. Solar cookers can also be used for drying food and pasteurizing water, which is especially helpful in building resiliency and disaster preparedness. For project leaders and advocates, they offer some key advantages because it's an excellent solution for both climate mitigation and adaptation, helping communities to cook where resources have been depleted. It is cost effective and scalable because they require no ongoing fuel expenses, so they're not subject to fluctuating prices, and they can be distributed with minimal investment. There's no infrastructure needed, which means quick, straightforward implementation, even in the most remote and underserved areas. It's also quite accessible, making it a viable option for diverse communities from rural villages to refugee camps. Which brings me to SCI and where we fit into the whole picture. We are a nonprofit organization working to improve human health, economic well-being, women's empowerment, and environmental sustainability by advancing climate-friendly solar cooking solutions. And since 1987, SCI has helped lead and convene the global solar cooking community. Today, we collaborate with more than 135 partners, including researchers, manufacturers, practitioners, and community organizations. So, how do we actually work towards our goal? How do we reach those 2.1 billion people? Through advocacy, we work to ensure that solar cooking is recognized in global clean cooking and climate policy discussions. Through research, we evaluate technologies and strengthen the evidence base for their impact. And through capacity building, we support organizations and communities implementing solar cooking projects on the ground. Together, these efforts help strengthen the solar cooking sector and create the conditions needed to scale solutions and reach many more communities worldwide. That's enough for me for now. To dig in a little bit deeper and to see what it looks like, I'm going to hand it over to SCI's Executive Director to introduce our first guest.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you all for being here. As Sarah said, I'm Caitlin Hughes. I'm honored to be the Executive Director of Solar Cookers International, and we are just so thankful to have the Director of the United Nations Climate Technology Center and Network, also known as the CTCN for short, Ariesta Ningram. And thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate all your collaboration and support in so many ways, and so thankful to have your voice with us today. Uh, so thank you for being here. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions so we can get to know you and the CTCN and the impact that it's having a little bit more. So first of all, if you could help us understand, what is the United Nations Climate Technology Center and Network, and how does it work?
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And thank you very much, Kathleen and Solar Cookers International, to invite us. And it's really thank you for the productive collaborations that we already have. So for those who do not know or not aware much about the United Nations Climate Technology Center and Network, or CTCN, we are the implementation arm of a mechanism called Technology Mechanism, which was established by UNFCCC. Back then in 2010. The mechanism, or the CTCN, is currently hosted by UNEP, and we headquartered in Copenhagen. However, we are available everywhere globally, literally. So the mission of the CTCN is actually to accelerate development, transfers, and deployment of the climate technologies in developing countries. And we do that by providing technical assistance, capacity building, and knowledge sharing. And all of this is done by a CTCN network that, like Solar Cookers International, is one of our network members. Currently, we almost have 1,000 climate technology providers that we can mobilize to help countries. And of course, like the request that comes to CTCN are the requests that align with the country's priorities. So I stop there, and then I will just explain along the way in the next few questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving that overview of how the CTCN fits in with other entities of the United Nations. And we have a wide range of audience members who some are familiar with all of the acronyms associated with the UN and some not. So feel free to sprinkle in any explanations for what those acronyms are along the way too, please. And also a friendly reminder to our audience, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A section. So there's a way to access that. There should be a little button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, so feel free to put any questions there. But our next question for Ariesta: how does the CTCN support least developed countries?
Yes. LDC are certainly priority for the CTCN because they are particularly at the front line of the climate change impacts and experiencing the greatest challenges in accessing the technology and the lack of the finance, as well as the weak institutional capacity. This is what we actually really want to help LDC and, of course, with the small island developing states also through our climate technology providers. So then we can help them transforming their technology needs into practical action. So most of technical systems funding windows are open, but LDCs and small island developing states are at the top of our priority list. And in fact, we have a certain program that's focusing only for the LDC and SIT. So that they are always in our priority.
Exactly. Thank you so much for explaining that. And we'll get to hear from an advocate and representative from the LDCs later on in our program as well. So great partnership there as well. So especially because this is related to the Commission on the Status of Women, what role does gender play in how the CTCN operates?
This is a very great question because since the beginning, the CTCN has been mandated to actually work on a gender responsive technology. It is stated there, and we're doing it in the different ways. First is that the CTCN creates the gender policy and action plan because this is something that we need as a framework for our work in mainstreaming gender considerations into CTCN services, but also the activities that under CTCN, including the technical assistance. So part of the implementation of gender policy and action plan is making sure that all of the technical assistance is also taking into account the gender mainstreaming. I'll give you a few examples. So as part of technical assistance, we created or established a gender assessment and action plan template in which this template will guide the implementation of the technical assistant and help CTCN deliver more inclusive and evidence-based by turning gender mainstreaming into concrete implementation that can be monitored, where the result can be presented. We also develop what we call sector-specific mainstreaming, gender mainstreaming guidelines. Depending on the topic of the technical assistant, we currently have the guidelines on the digitalizations and energy system. So how to mainstreaming gender consideration into digitalization and energy system. We are working on two other sectors, which is the nexus of the water, energy, and food system, and as well as in the buildings and infrastructure. We also make it mandatory for all technical assistants of CTCN 5% gender budgeting, which to ensure that there is a budget allocated for mainstreaming gender mainstreaming activity in each of the technical assistants. In addition to do that, we also collaborate with, of course, with the other stakeholders like the Women and Gender Constituency and Women Engage for a Common Future. For example, in the context of Gender Just Climate Solution Award, we've been collaborating with them for the last 10 years to highlight the climate technology solutions, especially with a strong gender component in there. And last but not least, together with our sister institution, which is called Technology Executive Committee, we maintain a roster of female expert on climate technologies and female and male gender experts who can be called upon. And this is like a platform that we create, and it's free of charge. Anybody could register. They can be called upon for different purposes, for speaking on events, workshop, activity, including consultation during the technical assistant implementation. So we have quite a variety, I must say, for the gender mainstreaming activities.
Thank you for providing so many specific examples. It's just wonderful to see the many different ways CTCN is putting into practice that value and support for that really important intersection of gender and climate. So I really appreciate how the CTCN works at that very important intersection as well as Solar Cookers International, because it is absolutely imperative. So how can innovative climate technologies with co-benefits like solar cooking help support frontline communities facing the impacts of climate change?
Yes, I think from our perspective, the climate technologies or innovations are most powerful when they can be deployed to solve the several issues at once. And this is what's actually happening with the support from Solar Cookers International. We deliver two technical assistants, one in Central African Republic and one in Mali, and both were funded by the European Commission through the Climate Change and Security Program. They just did that. So in Central African Republic, we supported 150 households, approximately 800 direct beneficiaries to gain access to the affordable and clean cooking solutions. In Mali, we focused the solar cooking technologies, but also part of that, this is a unique case because we also emphasize on building local expertise, where we, together with you, we actually develop the framework in such a way that the manufacture and the system can actually be developed locally by the local communities, which is, I think this is great because, we always talk about building the endogenous capacities, and what is the best way is actually to do that rather than engaging the local community to build the piece of equipment that they actually use it and benefit from themselves. So it creates a local jobs, it adds to the economy and the improve livelihood. In addition, of course, of the health benefits, the emission reductions, as well as the women's empowerment and so on and so forth. So we're really proud of this Mali and Central Africa Republic projects that we did with you.
Exactly. And thank you so much to the CTCN for their support in implementing it, as well as the European Commission. Wouldn't have been possible without you. And I wanted to say a special thank you for recognizing the importance of local production because it is sustainable and scalable. And also the way the CTCN works as a funder to both support the implementation, but also the longer term view in terms of scalability. So really appreciate that look at the current situation, but then also had to scale up those benefits to an even wider part of the population, since we know many people are looking for that and hungry for that solution. So thank you. So how does improved access to clean cooking fit within the CTCN's mandate?
Yes, thank you. So I mentioned that our mandate is surrounding the deployment, development, and transfer of climate technologies. And when people think about technologies, sometimes they think only about artificial intelligence. I mean, we do that also. But I think for me, the most important thing is whether this technology they deploy or transfer or develop is meeting the needs of the countries and the communities that actually need it. There is no point of developing like a modern technologies and so on, while it actually doesn't meet the needs of the community. And this is why the clean cooking fits so much within the CTCN mandate, because it's things that actually needed by countries and by communities. It builds the capacity. It's also address the gender issue, which is gender equality and women empowerment. So again, it fits very well.
Exactly. Thank you so much for citing that. Solar cooking is a very appropriate and accessible solution, which is why it's so powerful, one of many reasons. And to your point about the community wanting it, I mean, the Central African Republic has solar cooking mentioned in their NDC, their nationally determined contribution, their plan to address climate change. So it's a perfect bringing together of people from communities saying they want the solution, the CTCN being able to provide that support with Solar Cookers International, as well as many, many collaborators. So thank you for making it possible to bring all of us together. So speaking of networks and bringing people together, why is it important for the CTCN to have a network of implementing partners like Solar Cookers International?
Yes, CTCN actually the center itself is very small. We invite you to come to Copenhagen, but also like we have a presence in other regions. And that's why we actually mobilize the expertise. The expertise actually lies within the network member of CTCN, like Solar Cookers International. So we cannot respond effectively to countries' demand because countries' needs are so much different, and the only way is actually for us to be able to do that is to rely on the expertise to deliver our services of the network member. So I also would like to use this opportunities to encourage colleagues perhaps that you might be interested to become the network member of the CTCN. It's free, and then you get to help developing countries on clean technologies.
Exactly. The power of networks is just that's how we change the world. So so what are some of the CTCN's recent accomplishments and what are you looking forward to seeing in the future?
I would like to mention a couple of the programs that we recently closed at the end of 2025. One is, I mentioned earlier, actually, the Climate Change and Security Program, which was funded by EU that supported the two technical assistants in Mali and Central African Republic. And the second is AFSIA program, which is financed by Adaptation Fund. This is phase one, which produced 25 technical assistants in 23 countries worldwide. We are now implementing a second phase of AFSIA, we call it AFSIA 2, which is ready to actually support 60 technical assistants between 2025 until 2029. So again, as a relatively small organizations, we're looking forward so much to partner with the different network members, but also to partner with countries because we need to actually help to deliver the climate technology that's really based on the needs of the countries. And the other thing that we are now trying to do is to be the matchmaker. Because what happened, one successful innovative solution has already implemented, the next step, the next question comes in, how it can be replicated, how it can be scaled up. So now we are focusing also on helping the technical assistant and countries to replicate and to scale up and to connect perhaps with the interested financial institutions. This is actually the new function of the CTCN, which we started already implementing, and we're excited on this as well. So you will hear from us again in the future on this.
Wonderful. And I so appreciate you mentioning replicability. So, you being here and us, working together to share about the success of the work thanks to the CTCN and Solar Cookers International in Mali and the Central African Republic. I appreciate that we were able to do that at the United Nations Climate Conference, this as well as multiple other opportunities as well. Because the dream is to replicate it in many other countries. Use this as a positive example, and I know many other countries are so interested in solar cooking as a powerful solution and hungry to replicate it as well. So I appreciate you looking to the future and sharing that vision as well, because it's very needed. So one last question for you: how can the audience learn more about the CTCN's work?
Well, of course, we have a website. It's ctc-n.org organization, and where you can learn. But also, please contact us. I think we have, like I said, we have a presence in three different regions, actually: Asia Pacific, Africa, and also Latin America, and as well as in the headquarters. We also always present in the subsidiary bodies climate conferences. We actually worked together last time in the COP to highlight the achievement of the technical assistance that actually work, like what the SCI has already supported. So we're looking forward to collaborate with you all. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, it was just such an honor and such a pleasure. I know you're a very busy person, but we appreciate especially having such a powerful woman's voice at the Commission on the Status of Women here, speaking about the intersection of climate and gender in the CTCN's role. So we are going to dig more into the work and the impact that you at the CTCN have made possible in the Central African Republic and Mali. So everybody, please join me in thanking Ariesta, and we will be digging more into that. So thank you again so much for your time. We really
Thank you for
appreciate all the
having me.
collaboration. All right, so now we get to dig into some of those details about the Central African Republic and Mali. So we can go on to the next slide, please. So as we just heard from Ariesta, the CTCN, or Climate Technology Center Network, is supported by the European Union. So a big thank you there. And they facilitate the connection between countries and climate technology solutions, accelerating the development and transfer of technology for low carbon and climate resilient initiatives at the request of developing countries. So we can go on to the next slide, please. As we mentioned, the Central African Republic is a shining example because they have mentioned solar cooking in their NDCs, or their nationally determined contribution. And so this was a key opportunity, lots of sunshine and lots of opportunity for impact with solar cooking, thanks to the CTCN. As you can see, about 99% of the population, so the vast majority, lack access to modern cooking fuels and still rely on polluting fuels such as dung, charcoal, or firewood. So a huge opportunity for solar cooking and to change that. So in the communities in the African Republic that we worked, thanks to the CTCN, we were able to introduce 3 different solar cooker designs, which Sarah Rosen went over earlier. Cookits, which are a type of reflective panel, box ovens, and parabolic solar cookers. And these reached 4 different communities around the Central African Republic. And we saw amazing impacts. So about a 50% reduction in cooking fuel expenses. And we know from households and women in communities that when they're able to save money on cooking fuel expenses, that money can go to things like food, healthcare, school fees, other income generating activities. So it really frees up a significant part of a household budget for other things that can have many benefits as well. We also saw about a 42% reduction in self-reported health problems. So these are things like smoke, eye problems, respiratory infections, all of those things that come from being constantly surrounded by smoke that comes from cooking fires. So those impacts are happening right away and benefiting people's lives. And then they can spend less time being sick or having to deal with those types of things. And people can live longer, healthier lives when they're not surrounded by smoke. And also women and communities were able to save time in terms of time spent gathering fuel as well as on cooking activities as well. With many types of solar cookers, you can just put them in the sun, set it and forget it, as we like to say, and that frees up time for other things while food is being cooked. On to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is an exact quote from the Central African Republic's NDC, with a goal of penetration of 5% of households equipped with solar cookers in 2025 and 10% equipped in 2030, with 50% female head of household. So thank you for the Central African Republic for being a shining example in that. And on to the next slide, please. So we are actually thankful, with support from the CTCN, to have some amazing photographs coming from the Central African Republic showing both the need and opportunity as well as impacts for solar cooking. So this just shows some of the devastating deforestation that's happening, which is just heartbreaking. On to the next slide, please. So this shows some of the many different models that were produced and distributed in the Central African Republic. So you can see the cookits, which are a type of reflective panel, in the lower right-hand corner. And then you can see a demonstration in the upper left-hand corner. So we've got a parabolic, a box cooker, and a cookit, which is a type of reflective panel cooker. Training is so important for any behavior change. So making sure that communities understand how to use a solar cooker, especially finding women leaders to train others in terms of how to use a solar cooker, cook the local food, speak the local language. That's so important for that continued behavior change and adoption of a new technology. So you can see that training and demonstration happening there. On to the next slide, please. As Ariesta and I were highlighting the importance of local production as it supports the local economy, and it's the most sustainable and scalable way. So here is a parabolic solar cooker being produced locally. And on to the next slide. So we collaborated with a university in order to implement this. So as we said, local production is very valuable. So here is a cookit being produced locally. I believe actually a cookit was used as the template, which we had given somebody at a previous United Nations climate conference. So awesome to see students and multi-generations involved. Just look at that smile. So you can see the pride and the joy that comes from having a solar cooker, knowing how to use it, and knowing that they are cooking in a way that is safer and healthier for themselves, their families, and the planet. On to the next slide, please. And so that community of support, women's empowerment, you can just see embodied in this photo here, as well as all of that joy and the complementary technology of the retained heat basket, so food can be kept warm even after into the night. So we just love this picture. And on to the next slide. So we get to hear from some participants themselves from the Central African Republic. So we do have some recorded videos. There are 3 different videos. They're very short. The volume is different on some of our recorded videos. So if you need to turn up the volume for these videos in order to hear them, please do. And then you can always adjust the volume on your particular computer afterwards. We've done what we can to make it as loud as possible, but in case you can't hear it, feel free to turn up the volume on your computer as well. And we're just so thankful for the opportunity to share these very important voices.
Iunda nala chitene ala michipieni e pala gana ni chitezo kwa wanasa kwa papo na problem jiwa wa kiki wana shabo.
Iritimi bieke pakara goyom modeste. Duke sombi wara, duke ti tonga kobe sombi wara ake kota ni so irini parabolite. Jori sombi ba duke si laso amuna yi par rapport à l'environnement. Dengo keketi i akir na poko. Et na teneti guru akir kete na poko. Donc me bi penser njoni yeso i bala. Bon, tene la kwa ekeda. Tene so iti tene na ita so agana pialoso ko jone akatenti singila. Useni akateneti yapungoni wala encouragement. Otani akana begeti gouvernement si bando njoni na ndota marata pialoso si dereti kusala tongaso amae tentia morengeti tenti kikiriki singila.
Merci. Irismi ayeke madame Madena mse Bernadette mbeke na kodoti bafeli. Bi remercier mingi na Johnny Gangotala bienvenue na yati kodro ni kwe. Iki remercie mingi na la tetin joyeux aussi à la Ghana na bageti full soleil. Donc bi remercier ministre de l'environnement, bi remercier partenaire CTCN et puis bi remercier SCI Université de Bangui. Donc kota merci chimba keso na bageti ONG national na équipe ti genre. Iki kuta singi la mingi a population kwe ayeke kinangia tikiri kota singi na la mingi. Nza pasa Ghana la kirna la kodro akoko kwe. Merci. Merci.
So wonderful to hear those voices from the Central African Republic and the impact that solar cooking is making on our lives. So as we mentioned, Mali has also been a place where we've been working thanks to the CTCN. And as you can see, similarly, about 99% of the population there also lack access to modern cooking fuels and rely on polluting fuels. So we are working to change that. With this initiative, we were able to distribute solar cookers to 140 rural and peri-urban households in 2025, benefiting almost 2,500 people with solar cooked meals. And as you can see, a huge impact on people's lives with about a 67% reduction in cooking fuel expenses. And as we said, those expenses can then be directed towards other useful, beneficial things such as healthcare, schools, more food, more nutritious food, income generating activities, all of those different things. Also, almost a 50% reduction in self-reported health problems and an 85% reduction in biomass consumption. So huge benefits for people and the planet. And if we go to the next slide, I am so excited to introduce Seydou Coulibaly, who is the head of Togo Tile in Mali. And we'll get to hear some words from folks in Mali talking about the benefits of solar cooking.
Au Mali, plus de 80% des ménages dépendent encore de la biomasse pour la cuisson. Cette dépendance accélère la déforestation, fragilise les familles et aggrave les effets du changement climatique. Face à cette situation, une solution alternative tripartite de Solar Cookers International, de l'entreprise Togotilé et de Mali Météo a vu le jour dans le cercle de Banamba, région de Koulikoro, et en commune 5 du district de Bamako. Il s'agit d'une initiative qui teste et développe les technologies de cuisson solaire fabriquées et assemblées localement. La mise en œuvre de ce projet pilote est assurée par Togotilé. Objectif: réduire la dépendance à la biomasse, renforcer l'adaptation des communautés rurales et urbaines et bâtir une résilience durable face aux défis climatiques. Voici l'histoire d'une transition énergétique locale, une transition portée par le soleil et par les populations elles-mêmes. Dans la commune rurale de Bengadi, dans le cercle de Banamba, 90 femmes de 8 villages ont bénéficié des matériels de cuisson solaire dans le cadre du projet pilote. Ici, nous avons rencontré Dousoubalo, une femme du village de Samakele qui cuisine aujourd'hui grâce au soleil avec la parabole solaire.
Folola, ananga denw bɛ taa lɔgɔ tigɛ la anw bɛ sɛgɛn olu yɛrɛ bɛ sɛgɛn u tɛ se ka ekɔli yɛrɛ kɛ an ka baara misɛnninw fɛ lɔgɔ tigɛw ni tobili ca misɛnninw fɛ mais sisan an kɛlen ka parabɔli sɔrɔ denmisɛnninw bɛ t'u ka kalan na gɛlɛya t'a la dugu mana jɛ i yɛrɛ bɛ wuli i b'i ka daga sigi i b'i ka tobili kɛ u bɛna sɔrɔ dumuni mɔnna foyi tiɲɛna parabɔli ko in kɔni kɛra an yɛrɛ ma lafiyaba de ye.
À 2 km du village de Samakele se trouve un hameau Peul. Ici, le soleil ne brille pas que pour éclairer la journée. Il sert aussi à cuisiner des repas de la famille de Mariam Gaou, bénéficiaire des matériels de cuisson solaire et technologies complémentaires. Elle travaille quotidiennement depuis quelques mois avec la parabole solaire et le panier thermos, qui lui permettent de garder le repas au chaud, même après le coucher du soleil.
Tonga dumuni tobala benga seri tobala bekini tobala be makoroni tobala isa ne benga kle fana tobi ani sura fana ka be tobi ka siga kon la manase palma ni sukura ni dumuni bok masera ba boka du ba sora kalama bado la fia bala de.
Mafa Sangaré est le maire de la commune rurale de Bengadi. Il fut un témoin oculaire de la cérémonie de remise des matériels de cuisson solaire pour ces populations. Il décrit ici l'importance et l'impact du projet dans la lutte contre le changement climatique et la déforestation dans sa commune. Le directeur de Togotilé, Sédou Koulibaly, a encouragé l'adoption des cuiseurs solaires afin de réduire l'utilisation du charbon et du bois au Mali. Il a souligné que le pays bénéficie d'un fort ensoleillement et que ces technologies ont des avantages pour l'environnement, la santé, l'éducation et l'économie. Il a aussi invité SCI et ses partenaires à renforcer ces initiatives dans les communautés.
La cuisson solaire est une technologie appropriée pour le Mali pour deux raisons. La première raison, le Mali, par sa position géographique, est un pays ensoleillé. La deuxième raison, la rareté du bois et du charbon. Aujourd'hui, l'exemple est là. Le projet de cuisson solaire financé par l'Union européenne à travers Solar Cooker International, exécuté dans la commune de Banamba et dans la commune 5 de Bamako, avec la contribution de Mali Météo. Ce projet est en train de rendre les femmes de ces différentes localités heureuses. Elles se voient aujourd'hui plus libres. Elles ont une forme de liberté grâce à l'utilisation des cuiseurs solaires, grâce à l'utilisation du panier thermos. Elles n'ont pas besoin de rester dans la cuisine pour voir si le repas est cuit ou pas. La cuisson peut se faire à l'absence d'elles. La cuisson solaire contribue dans ces deux communes aujourd'hui sur le plan économique. Les pères de famille sont heureux aujourd'hui parce qu'ils voient leurs dépenses allouées à l'achat du bois et du charbon se diminuent de jour en jour. J'invite les acteurs déjà présents sur ce projet, l'Union européenne, Mali Météo, la commune 5 de Bamako, la commune de Banamba et de Samakele, à accompagner plus davantage ces communautés et à les assister pour que l'utilisation de ces équipements se fasse de façon plus grandiose et qui peut atteindre encore d'autres localités du pays.
À plusieurs kilomètres de là, en commune 5 du district de Bamako, la même ambition prend forme. Adapter la cuisson solaire aux réalités urbaines et périurbaines. Dans la capitale malienne, le soleil devient un outil d'adaptation face au changement climatique. Ami Diallo habite dans le quartier de Daoudabougou. Elle travaille avec des cuiseurs solaires depuis près d'1 an.
Ne parabole soleil soro ani dumuni tobi segi berata je sankilina ne be barake nay c'est sani minan be di ne me sarbon sa fo kemeni muga kemen mais a dini sisanche ne be sarbon sa biduru o yaya an yɛrɛ be nɛnɛ la yɔrɔ ni nɛnɛ tɛmɛna tile mama na bɔ ne tɛna sarbon san do a be caman de bɔ musaka la hali ka da sarbon ko ma a be caman bɔ musaka la.
Non loin de Ami Diallo, Nomoso est une commerçante. Elle utilise le foyer Lafia, une technologie complémentaire qui réduit la consommation en bois et en charbon, et un cuiseur électrique solaire alimenté par des panneaux. Au-delà de l'utilisation des matériels de cuisson solaire et de technologies complémentaires, Nomoso Diallo décrit l'impact socio-économique et sanitaire des matériels solaires sur sa famille.
Ne kun bɛ charbon 80 lɔgɔ 60 kuma dɔ yɛrɛ a bɛ se 200 ma mais an bɛ don min na i ko bi ne bɛ charbon 50 la de san wa n bɛ n ka kini don n na ka taa n ka feerekɛyɔrɔ la a bɛ n lafiya kojugu denmisɛnninw bɛna sɔrɔ dumuni kalaman don sufɛ na kalaya t'a la foyi i ka tobilikɛyɔrɔ tɛ nɔgɔ.
Le chef du quartier de Daoudabougou apprécie fortement cette initiative dans son quartier. Il évoque ici son importance.
Je remercie tout d'abord l'entreprise Togo Tilé d'avoir nous fourni des matériels de cuisson. Vraiment, je suis très émerveillé parce que ça va aider nos femmes, nos enfants, nos filles à bien préparer sans dépense ni de charbon ni de bois.
Mali Météo a participé activement à la mise en œuvre de ce projet pilote d'adaptation au changement climatique. Amadou Diakité, chef service observation et prévision à Mali Météo, nous parle du rôle des cuiseurs solaires.
Les cuiseurs solaires et les technologies complémentaires jouent un grand rôle pour atténuer les effets du changement climatique. À savoir, ils permettent de limiter la déforestation. Ils permettent également d'atténuer les émissions de gaz à effet de serre. Il permet également l'amélioration des revenus des ménages et également aussi le bien-être et la santé de la population.
Au regard de l'importance de ces projets innovants dans la cuisson au Mali, Amadou Diakité appelle les partenaires financiers à collaborer avec Togo Tilé pour la pérennisation de ces projets de cuisson solaire.
Le message que moi j'ai à adresser à l'endroit des partenaires, à savoir le CCTN et aussi SolarCook, c'est de continuer la collaboration avec l'entreprise de Gotilé, qui a une expertise connue aussi bien sur le plan national que sur le plan international, à travers le savoir-faire sur les cuiseurs solaires et même d'autres technologies en lien avec le développement durable.
Selon l'experte en genre Korotimi Touré, l'accès et l'utilisation des services énergétiques modernes dans les activités de production, de transformation et de cuisson constituent un levier important pour l'autonomisation des femmes. Ces solutions contribuent à préserver leur santé, protéger l'environnement et renforcer leur participation au développement du pays.
Donc, sur ce projet, le genre est pris en compte ici parce que pour le projet, le genre veut la prise en compte des préoccupations, des besoins de toutes les couches cibles sans discrimination. L'importance de ce projet sur le genre, ce projet peut contribuer à l'autonomisation des femmes. parce que ça va permettre aux femmes de réduire la consommation du bois. Et si la consommation du bois est réduite, donc le temps de collecte de ce combustible va être réduit aussi. Et puis ça va permettre aux femmes de mener d'autres activités génératrices de revenus, de se former, de s'informer, d'adopter leurs enfants et surtout de participer au développement du pays.
Dans le cercle de Banamba et en commune 5 du district de Bamako, les communautés réduisent leur dépendance à la biomasse, protègent leur santé et renforcent leur résilience face au changement climatique. Tout cela grâce aux technologies de cuisson solaire fabriquées localement. Le potentiel de ces innovations dépasse largement les 2 communautés pilotes au Mali. Avec l'appui des partenaires financiers, ces technologies de cuisson solaire pourraient être déployées à plus grande échelle au bénéfice des milliers de Maliens.
Hello, this is Alan Bigelow, the Program and Science Director at Solar Cookers International. And yes, please applaud the video that we just saw from Seydou Koulibaly and his team at Togo Tile and partners, particularly the participants and the new solar cooking champions, the women of these villages in the peri-urban areas. All right, well, next we would like to welcome Dr. Hortense Traoré Kagambega. Hello, Dr. Traoré. Thank you for being here today with us. I just wanted to present a little introduction, and that is that Solar Cookers International and Dr. Traoré first met at a COP meeting in Dubai. This is the large United Nations Climate Change Conference. And that was a little over 2 years ago. And then we've reconnected more recently in Belém in Brazil last year. And we are just thrilled to be having some ongoing conversations to explore opportunities for collaboration, particularly in Burkina Faso, where you are from. And on that note, I wanted to just interject something, and that is that my personal attraction to solar cooking came from my first time I saw a solar cooker. I had 2 perspectives. One, as a physicist, that's my background. I saw this device and I thought that can work. As a physicist, it made sense. The science is there, and it was particularly exciting in this age of climate crisis that we're going through. Now, my other perspective came from my childhood. And for 2 years, because of my father's work, we lived in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. And I was about 10, 11 years old at the time. And we would travel in the country and we would see over and over again how challenging it was for women to obtain cooking fuel. And so we would see these very telltale signs of women and children walking long distances across barren areas and coming back to their villages with bundles of sticks of wood on their head. So particularly delighted now that we have made some good contact in Burkina Faso to look for opportunities to work there, because I certainly understand that solar cooking would meet the needs for so many in Burkina Faso. But now that's my perspective. So I wanted to welcome you to share your perspective, which also may be more current than my memories from my childhood. So Dr. Traoré, just to start with a question, if you could let us know, what is the Women Environmental Program, WEP Burkina Faso, and how does it work? Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good night. In my country, we are in the afternoon now. So, as Dr. Alan said, I am Dr. Traoré Hortense Kagambega. I am from Women Environmental Program, Burkina Faso. Women Environmental Program is an association which work with climate change issues, gender issues, renewable energy issues, and also water and sanitation. We do work also with circular economy, green economy. Yeah, we work with all these issues to make sure that we improve the well-being of our communities.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I was curious also, you have two roles. One is with WEP Burkina and the Women Environmental Program, and then also with CTCN. We've been hearing a lot about the Climate Technology Center Network today, but can you discuss how your role at CTCN supports the least developed countries, LDCs?
Yeah, thank you so much. As a AB member, advisory board member of the CTCN, my role and my colleagues' role are to make sure that we facilitate to collect information about the needed of technologies in our communities and to work with the CTCN during advisory board meeting to see the activities which are going and how these activities are implementing. What are the needs of least developed countries and also the other developing countries, their need about technology. It can be technology coming from another country. It can be also local technologies, but how we can make sure that people, communities get access to this technology. And now CTCN make assistance, technology, technical assistance. And then for us, it is to see with NDEs. NDEs are a national designated entity who have like a gate of the CTCN in different countries to make sure that the need of technology are fulfilled in different countries. So what we do in during AB meeting, advisory board meeting, it is to see the activities of the CTCN on the ground, to discuss about the budget, to discuss about their activities and also make a recommendation of the need of different countries. What are the need about technology in our communities? Yeah, and to see how to go to implementation, this, which is very important for our communities, because something is to have technical assistance. Another thing is to make sure that this technical assistance will continue till the implementation on the ground. So we discussed about all these issues and also about the budget to make sure that these technologies are accessible for communities.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing more about your work at CTCN and WEP Burkina. Can you elaborate, please, a little bit more on the gender focus of the work of both WEP Burkina and CTCN? Thank you.
Okay. I think for the CTCN, I am a member of the advisory board, but I'm not a member of the CTCN. I think Ariasta could give you also the difference between them. We are all only the member of the advisory board. We do have 2 meetings of advisory board, and when we meet, where we meet the secretariat, the team of the CTCN, and we discuss about the issues related to technology development and transfer for developing countries. Now, for in CTCN, as she said, there are a lot of activities where they make sure that gender is taken into account. I think they have some activities, a kind of competition for youth to make sure that they have access to technology, they have some technology to share with other youth, how can they implement it, and so on. This is what an example for the CTCN to take into account the gender issues. But for us in Women Environmental Program Burkina Faso, as I said, gender is one of cross-cut issues. All our activities, we make sure that women and youth are taken into account. But now we do have another issue, which is displaced people. For these communities, it is to make sure that they can benefit also to capacity building and other things to improve their well-being, because they leave their villages, they leave their communities, and they are hosted by other communities. Our aim is to make sure that there will not be a conflict between displaced communities and the hosted communities. And we focus mainly on women because they are the most impacted when they are displaced, because they can be harassed, they can be run of money, and they should take care of their families, feed their families. So we try to make some activities and focus on them, and also taking into account display the hosted communities to make sure that they will not be jealous. Yeah, so we can make a kind of collaboration, good integration of these displaced people in the host communities.
Well, wonderful, and congratulations to you at WEP Burkina and to the CTCN for focusing on gender. When it comes to cooking, this is absolutely essential that gender be the focus of the cooking initiatives. Also, thank you for sharing more about the IDP situation in Burkina Faso and how the internally displaced population interacts with the host communities and how delicate that is. If we can now shift more to cooking, if people can remember, meaning I'm speaking to the audience here, what Sarah Rosen, my colleague, shared earlier about SCI's mission. And if you didn't quite get it, you could look it up. But my next couple questions are going to relate to the points with SCI's mission. So, Dr. Traore, can you please share how women in Burkina Faso are disproportionately impacted by traditional cooking practices? And in answering, can think about three aspects. One is health from exposure to cooking fire, smoke, and the second is the economic well-being as linked with the fuel expense, and then women's empowerment, mainly as linked with the time and effort spent seeking firewood. So again, health, economic well-being, and women's empowerment as it pertains to cooking. I know this is a big subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. I think the video we have just looked at on your technology in Mali, it very well highlight the problem of women, because when you listen very well what women said, they said that they do not have a problem of health because they were breathing smokes coming from wood, and they have much time now to do their activities and so on. In Burkina Faso, we do have the same kind of issues. Women are in charge of family feeding. It means that they should make sure that there is energy for cooking, and this make them go to look for wood. They will look for wood or charcoal. They have to buy it for cooking. So when they go to look for wood, it contributes to forest degradation. And the main problem with them, it is like when you come with the wood to cook, the smoke in the room, in your kitchen, sometimes it is, some of them have health problem, but they do not know exactly where this kind of disease comes from. Some of them are aware that it is the smoke coming from the wood, but some of them do not know this is a problem. And talking about the economic aspect, they have to buy. If you remember, the lady said that they can use by day around 1,000 CFA to buy charcoal or wood for cooking. If you do not have enough money, if you do not have a good income, it will be difficult to be able to provide good food for your family every day. And you are in charge of that. And also for the well-being. And talking also to economic aspect, you have to spend money to buy wood or charcoal, and it takes a lot of time to cook with charcoal and also with wood. So they do not have enough time to do another activities to earn money. So I can say that it is our case in Burkina Faso, women case in Burkina Faso is similar to the case of Mali women. Yeah, and they are affected in these three areas: the health, economy, and also well-being. And something I would like to add also is children, mainly girls, who help their mother in for cooking. They will go to look for the wood, and they spend time for that. The time to listen, to read lessons, or to go to school. Sometimes it is very difficult for them to do all these activities. So it has an impact on their education. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Traore, for sharing about these impacts, but also highlighting that for children and for young girls, this is also very, very harmful, unfortunately, through cooking, which is something that we need to do for nourishment. You did allude to the environment, and I wanted to ask you about the environmental impacts from traditional cooking. I've heard some people from neighboring countries to Burkina Faso that there are no more trees. And this is an alarming reality. When I was living as a child in your country, it was quite a barren landscape as you would get outside of the cities. Can you share with our audience today some of your perspectives about the environmental impacts due to the traditional cooking practices? I would say primarily through deforestation. How bad is it?
Thank you so much. As you know, to go to look for firewood, it means that you will cut trees. We are a landlocked country. This is one. And the second thing is that we are sub-Saharan country. It means that we do not have a lot of forests. We do not have a lot of trees. We need to protect our trees, our forests, our biodiversity. But the problem is that when women cut trees to look for firewood, it make a very bad, a very big degradation of our forest and also our biodiversity. And when we cut trees, it exposes our soils to erosion. And if our soils are exposed to erosion, it means that it has also impact on the production, agriculture production. And this is linked also to food security. If you do not have enough trees, your soil are exposed to erosion. It means that you are exposed also to food insecurity. This is the problem in our country. And I know that the government make the best to make a kind of subvention for the gas, to reduce the price of the gas, to help women to avoid cutting trees, but it is not enough. Even if this gas price is reduced compared to some neighbor countries, it is high for the most of women to get. If they have to buy themselves the gas, it is expensive for them. So they will go to look for charcoal or also cut trees, and this has a very big impact on our environment. But I think sometimes it is not because they want to cut trees. It is not because they do not want to use gas, but if they cannot afford, they will look for yes, for trees, to cut trees and to use charcoal. But it has a lot of impact on our environment. Cutting trees also make a impact, taking into account the case of climate change. When you cut a lot of trees, it has impact also on the climate. This is another issue that we need to highlight. But at the same time, the climate change has also impact on our forests and reduce the possibility to get wood for cooking. So it means that in both cases, we need to find another solution to protect our environment.
Well, thank you for elaborating on the environmental impacts and to even get into details about the soil and the cycle, this feedback cycle with climate change and how that's compounding the issues. Switching to maybe something more positive with solar cooking. We're of course very passionate about solar cooking, all of us at Solar Cookers International. But I understand that you fairly recently witnessed solar cooking happening. And I would love for you to share with our audience today your personal reaction to seeing solar cooking, and also from your professional point of view. So please
Thank you.
share your thoughts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned at the beginning of your speech, we met the first time in Dubai, where I saw you cooking with solar stove. And I was impressed. I said, what is this? Let me go and check. And when I went there, I saw Mr. Alan, and I asked him, what is it doing? He said that I'm cooking with solar stove. And then he showed me how to cook, what kind of material they use, and he asked me where is my country, and it is at this time we get in touch together. It means that we do have a good story about solar, using solar cooking energy. Yeah, I think for solar cooking, this will be very important for us in Burkina Faso. We have a lot of solar. We have solar energy, a lot of solar in our country. It is like Mali. We are neighbors. So we have a lot of solar in our country. And if we have this possibility to have a solar cooking stove, it will be very beneficial for our communities. And I saw also the panels showed in the video. This also is very important. I didn't see it before. Solar stove, I saw it with you, but the panel to use to do other activities, this can be very important, mainly for youth. You know, at this time, we are in a hot season in my country, and we have every time power cuts. Having this kind of technology will be very helpful for us, mainly for youth to do activities, and also for women to cook, and also to do some activities to generate income in their family. So what I can say is that it is good to make sure that in the different countries, mainly in Africa and sub-Saharan countries, to make sure that we can have this kind of technology, it will be very helpful. And we saw also that women appreciate it very well, because they earn time and they also earn money. They save money by using this kind of stuff. So, Alan, I want it for my communities also. I, I
Yes,
want
thank
this
you.
technology for my communities also.
We'll
Yeah.
absolutely continue, and we'll find a way to make this happen. I'm convinced that we're going to get there. Um, just a few more questions, and then we're going to have to move on with
Alan,
our
excuse
program.
me, Alan.
Yes, yes.
Excuse me. Something I would like to just highlight is
Okay.
that I saw in the video this technology made by Togo Tele.
Yes.
And what I would like to suggest to highlight is that to make sure that women who benefit this kind of technology, to make sure that their capacity is built, to allow them to repair when they have problems with this kind of equipment. Yeah. Benefit something is good, but to make it sustainable, it needs to have yourself, your capacity built to make sure that you can use it for a long time. Yes, thank you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We are on the same page about maintenance and repair, and many of the solar cooking technologies actually are that can be made locally, have that ability for access to maintenance and repair and to have training so that people know how to take care of the devices. I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more on my next section here. But to wrap up, do you have some thoughts to share about some of Wet Burkina's most recent accomplishments, and what are you looking forward to seeing in the future?
Thank you. Web Burkina recently trained women, mainly displaced women, to produce biocharcoals. Biocharcoal is produced by biomass. When they finish the activities in the farm, the agriculture activities, they have waste, biomass. We use biomass to produce charcoal. Instead of using trees, we use biomass to produce biocharcoal, and this helps these women to have energy for cooking, but also to have something to sell to generate income. This is one of the things we did for women, but also we train women to produce with a small surface to produce agriculture products, to make agriculture production by using a plate, small plates where you can produce maybe tomatoes, onion, but you do not need a very large farm, very large space to do that. We have to this kind of training. We train women, mainly displaced women, because they are displaced people. They do not have their own farm to work on it. So if they have some small plates, we use them to produce in the small place for the food to feed their family. Yes, but the main technology we find to help them is the biocharcoal production, and also biopesticide production for the small agriculture production. This is something we did recently. I think the 3 years to now, 3 or 4 years to now, we are training women in these kind of activities. But what we want now for the next step is to also get this technology on solar cooking, to make sure
Wonderful.
that they can also benefit to that, and they will have a capacity built also on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Traore. We really appreciate your comments today and to answer these questions, to share your insight. And also thank you for sharing a bit more about what Wet Burkina is doing. What you were just saying about the fuel access is important. With solar cooking is an integrative solution. That means it's added to other cooking practices. And so you are already focusing on cooking, and I'm really looking forward to continuing our discussions to find a solution to ramp up solar cooking in Burkina Faso, where there certainly is the need. Solar cooking fits the need, and there is the solar resource. So thank you again very much, and we'll look forward to a sunny future, a sunny cooking future.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Traore. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, on that note, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Dr. Traore. I'd like to shift to another country, Kenya. And this is also a common thread of displaced populations at a refugee camp, Kakuma refugee camp. And I would like to give an update about our work. Solar Cookers International has been working for several years in Kakuma refugee camp with a local collaborator. And this is a very interesting program that does have a gender focus. If we can look at the next slide, please. Just give a quick overview of the best practices that are used in this program, which has many ways modeled other programs that SCI is working on. But some of the main points for the best practices here, Kakuma, by the way, is located in the far northwest of Kenya. And this is a solar insolation map. It shows how much sun is landing on the ground in various parts of Kenya throughout the year. So for one, we definitely focus on gender inclusive design. Women are involved in the project, and specifically the users, the participants will give feedback. We work with a trusted implementing partner that listens to the feedback along with us and then builds the cookers and delivers them, implements the solution. We have worked with cookers that have been tested using the standards that are developed by the International Organization for Standardizations. That's something that SCI does. We are involved in product testing. And we include refugee women solar cooking champions as trainers. This is exceptional key to success. Participants are contributing collaborators, and we always focus on data. We want to know how things are going. So we have an adoption and impact survey that will tell us how things are going. We use that every annual cycle. Next slide, please. So I want to give a big thanks and shout out to donors for this project. So you'll see this. Thank you from Kakuma Refugee Camp, Kenya, but also thank you from SCI for your support. Without your support, this would not happen. Very excited to see, to show these pictures from this year's annual cycle, the manufacturing that just started a few months ago, and very excited to see women now involved in the process. So, next slide, please, just to show some of these exciting photos of a box oven being assembled. This is locally assembled using materials that are locally available in Kenya by Kenyans, including Kenyan women. And this box oven has been tested in Kenya as well as at one of our collaborator testing centers in Nairobi at the University of Nairobi. Next slide, please. Again, women are involved here in finishing up the cookers. And then the next slide, please. These are very exciting to bring to the field. Now, speaking about the field, how do we identify who will receive a solar cooker? SCI uses the Quick Needs Assessment. It's a survey, and basically it assesses the need and desire for solar cooking on an individual and community level. So we have enumerators as part of our team who go to the homes and ask questions, basically to find out what the need is from people. And in doing those surveys, we take pictures. And so the pictures that you're seeing here, this is just a sample of 5 pictures from this year's selected participants, and you're seeing how they have been cooking until they received a solar cooker. So often you'll see something that's pretty crude that will use wood, charcoal. Often cooking is indoors. You will see soot collecting on walls. And in the case, the woman on the far right, you see two small feet at about hip level. She's carrying a baby on her back. This is just evidence that children are exposed to cooking smoke because they are with mom, and that is something that we want to curb by promoting solar cooking. So something that stood out from this year's quick needs assessment, one question was, does your drinking water need to be made safe to drink? 100% of the new participants answered yes. So their water is contaminated. They know about that. And so using charcoal and wood to heat water to pasteurize it it's a lot of energy. That's expensive. That can be done with a solar cooker with no cost of the energy. Another question, do you sell or barter food to obtain fuel for cooking? Something that we are very aware of that's happening in Kakuma refugee camp, and 91% said yes. So already the situation at Kakuma has just been getting worse on an annual basis from what we're hearing. And with recent funding cuts to humanitarian aid, the availability of food and cooking fuel is going down. And what the camp administrators are able to help with is becoming more and more reduced. So this is making things more difficult, and hence the extreme coping mechanisms that women cooks are coming up with. So bartering food is one of those extreme coping mechanisms. Something else that we wanted to ask during the quick needs assessment was, how many times per week do you typically cook? And the answer on average is nine times per week, about just a little bit more than once a day. So moving onward, let's look at the next slide. How do we implement this program? Once solar cookers are arriving in the camp, there is a very exciting moment of training where local, meaning refugee women who have became solar cooking experts from previous cycles are now involved as trainers, are now involved in the training program. Another aspect here in the picture on the top right, the refugee participants bring their own cookware, and this is part of their contribution to this program. They have their own cookware painted black, matte black on the outside. And this way it's more absorbent of sunlight to make the solar cooking process more effective. And then distribution happens, and during distribution, the picture in the lower right corner, we have the baseline survey that happens. And in the baseline survey, just wanted to share a few things that pop out. We are averaging about 8.5 people per household. And on total, we have about 122 orphans identified among the participants who are receiving solar cookers. We asked how many members of your family have reported a respiratory or eye problem from exposure to cooking smoke in the past month, and 69 family members reported such issues. So that's very significant. And then along with that, did anyone go to seek healthcare at a clinic or health center? And 50 households responded yes. And that question was raised specifically in the context of cooking, smoke from cooking fires. The expense, what are people paying for fuel? And on average, the monthly fuel expense in US dollars is 33 US dollars per month. 33 US dollars per month, an extremely high amount of money given the level of perhaps income, but the amount of money that people would have on hand. Hence, you do again find a lot of cases of bartering food for cooking fuel that is purchased from the local community. Okay, let's look at the next picture. This is I'm excited to show this slide. We track our participants. So this is just an example of following participant who has been issued oven number 161. And the first picture on the left shows this new participant before she received the solar cooker, and you can see her cook stove. It's a basket which you put charcoal in and burn. But also in the shadow behind her, she does have another cook stove and soot along the wall there. So again, a challenging situation. During the distribution, just last February, she received the oven. And most recently, yesterday, these pictures came in of this woman showing competence of solar cooking, which looks to me like a very delicious meal, which you see here in her oven. So tracking and following up with our participants is also a very important aspect, along with training. So during those moments of training, yeah, that's when people learn how to take care of their solar oven, and if they need help, they can call for technical assistance as well if it's something that they can't do themselves. But all of the materials are locally available. So this is again our approach in this particular context at Kakuma Refugee Camp. Next slide, please. I just have to show a collection of foods. These are all foods that are enjoyed by the communities living at Kakuma Refugee Camp. And so I have to show this is an obligatory slide, but very successful at matching this cooker with the foods that are enjoyed by the people who are using them. Next slide, please. I just want to get into some more detail from our adoption impact survey. And this is a graph that shows the difference before and after of the usage of charcoal and wood. So the baseline survey, which happens at the time when one receives a solar cooker, and then a post-distribution survey is about 6 months later. So people are still fairly new to solar cooking, but we've seen that people learn pretty quickly, and then this is having a drastic effect. You can see that the charcoal use drops by about half. It drops to about half what had been used, and firewood is also reduced. But people still need to cook during rainy season, hence the integrative solution that solar cooking is. On the next slide, we're going to show a translation of that reduction in charcoal and firewood in terms of reduced carbon dioxide emission. And so on average per year, we're finding that across the camp for each solar cooker, you have an opportunity here of carbon emission reduction. So this is very exciting to see. And on the next slide, more exciting news, we have paper that we co-wrote with our collaborating partners in Kenya. So you'll see Wilkinson Wenda and Cleophas Kiproto Koske listed here as co-authors. And this paper was accepted for publication through the Solar World Congress, which was just last year. This will be out in the proceedings shortly. So SCI will broadcast that as soon as we can. But this will get into much more detail about the best practices and how we calculated the carbon dioxide emission reduction from solar cooking. Okay, next slide, please. I have to share this quote. This is from Cleophas from Eco Impact Hub CBO, our local implementing partner. And he was at the distribution training site at Kakuma this year. And he paraphrased what he's been hearing from some of the new participants. I'll just read this. Sometimes when we don't have a single coin for fuel, we go to our neighbors to use their solar cooker. So there's a lot being said there. But the main thing is extremely high demand. There's awareness about solar cooking now happening in Kakuma because people hear about it. They see it happening in some of their neighbors' compounds. And so this is something that there's an expressed desire and need for solar cookers. To get into this a little with a little more detail, on our next slide we have John Kamau, who I'd like you to hear from himself. So we have a recorded message. If we can start that now, that'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.
But she was telling us that the challenge they are experiencing, especially when collecting, looking for firewood or looking for means of cooking, is that one. Kakuma is an arid area. It's a desert. So they first of all the type of firewood that is there is thorny, because it's bushes. not even forests per se where they can collect normal firewood. So even if you look at their hands, most of them have blisters on their hands because when they go to collect firewood there, it's a lot of thorns they have to clear so that they can get some form of cooking. But then, because they are moving out of the community to go now to the neighborhood communities to be able to look for firewood, and those places are quite hostile because we have communities, Turkanas, that are quite a bit hostile. So they sometimes get ambushed. And when they get ambushed, there are two things. Either they are in the danger of being beaten, killed. We even had stories of women who were killed while going to fetch firewood. Not when we were there, but they were giving us the stories that has happened. Or they get raped and they are free to go, to go and with the firewood. And this is a story of, someone who told us the story. Like, it's not stories I heard. These are stories that we were experiencing. So some of them have food, but because they don't have means of cooking, they do barter trade. They exchange food for sex. Firewood or means of cooking with the local communities or people who have means. And that's how some of them end up getting children and more children. And, in the bid of trying to get survival. So the stories of that is one lady that was giving us that story.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Alan and Dr. Torre. It's so good to hear from you and from John. I know we've gone over on time. We're going to keep going just a little bit longer because we want to make sure that the folks here can have some resources and understand how to engage if you're interested in engaging with SCI. And for anyone that can't stay with us, we understand you will be able to find the video on our website and on YouTube. So when we talk about capacity building, we're talking about the projects that we implement directly, like the ones you heard about today, but it's also about empowering anyone, anywhere who wants to bring solar cooking to their community. So we often hear from people who are curious and motivated, but solar cooking is unfamiliar to a lot of people. So they really just need some knowledge and tools to get started. And since we can't be everywhere, we work really hard to find ways to enable the widest possible impacts. And to begin, it can be helpful to understand the global landscape or how many people are already cooking. So SCI tries to track the number and distribution of solar cookers globally, and we maintain this map on our website. And this information can really help us understand where there's already some interest in solar cooking or where some additional outreach might take place. And this map is crowdsourced, so anyone can add their cookers to the map. And I would invite you to visit our website, fill out a form. You can skip whatever questions you don't have answers to and add your cookers to the map, or share with a friend and encourage them to add their cookers to the map. So going from the global to the country level, you heard Caitlin and Aryeh talk about some policy, and policy and institutional support can really make a huge difference. So when governments set clean cooking goals and back them up with programmings, the conditions for success really improve dramatically. And we go from talking about isolated projects to changing entire systems. So SCI analyzes different policies and we share that knowledge with others. So we produce, we take a particular look at nationally determined contributions, looking at those that are submitted by every single country, looking for language that might be supportive of clean cooking projects, and of course, specifically solar cooking projects. And so that report is available on our website, and we invite you to look through it and see if your country's NDC includes some language that could help back up any initiatives that you're interested in doing. And now to the most important person, the individual. So the person that wants to learn more about solar cooking. One of the best places to start is with our John Constantine Toolkit, which you can find on our website. And this is great if you're an advocate or a leader or just someone who likes to cook. This toolkit assembles some of the most helpful information and organizes it into different modules with business tools and construction designs. And we even have a module for teachers that includes classroom materials and lesson plans. And if you really want to take a deep dive, I highly recommend exploring SCI's Solar Cooking Wiki, which is the world's largest online platform for solar cooking resources. So it's hosted by us, but it depends on people from around the world sharing their experiences and their expertise. And you can find all sorts of information, news, events, learning materials. You can find a list of vendors. You can find open source cooker designs so you can make your own. And one of the best features is that every country has its own page, so you can really zero in on the activities that are happening near you. And for those that are interested in starting a solar cooker project in their community, you heard Alan mention a few of the surveys that we use, and those are available also. So you can find, and we encourage everyone to use SCI's Quick Needs Assessment, Adoption and Impact Survey, which are on our website. They really help set you up to have the best data possible, which is absolutely key for ensuring not just your initial set of programming, but then follow-on programming. It helps you attract new partners and improve, tweak your work. And there are additional resources on the Solar Cooking Wiki as well, specifically the Promoting Solar Cookers page. And I just want to quickly mention, make a note here that our website is solarcookers.org and the wiki is solarcooking.org. Just be aware that there's two different websites here. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Vedika, our communications specialist.
Thank you, Rosen. Hello, everyone. I'm Vedika. I'm the communication specialist at SCI, and I will take you through our various social media platforms and share ways to stay engaged with Solar Cookers International. Next slide, please. We are very active on social media. You can find us on several social media platforms such as Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. I've added the links to all of our social media here, but if you just search for Solar Cookers International on any of these, you'll find us easily. We post updates from SCI regularly, so if you'd like to stay engaged with us, our social media is a great place to start. You can follow us, subscribe, like, and share our posts. We love it when our supporters reach out to us on social media, and please tag us in your solar cooking posts using the hashtag Solar Cookers International. We would really appreciate it. Next slide, please. Now, just a quick note on how you can stay connected with SCI. To make sure that you don't miss any updates, we recommend adding SCI as a safe sender. This simply means adding us to your contacts or marking our emails as not spam when they land in your inbox. Also, it's worth checking your promotions tab within your emails because sometimes emails from organizations can end up there. So if you find an SCI email in that tab, moving it to your primary inbox can help future emails show up where you're more likely to see them. If you'd like to continue hearing from us, please make sure you've opted in to receive updates. You can sign up using the link that I've included here. I've also added a QR code where you can register to receive regular updates from SCI. And if you found today's webinar valuable, we'd love your support in spreading the word. You can forward our emails to a friend or colleague, share our events on social media or WhatsApp groups, or mention SCI within your communities and networks. It really helps us to reach more people. Thank you so much for your attention today. Now I'll hand it over to our Executive Director, Caitlin Hughes, who will wrap up today's webinar for us.
Thank you, Suvidika, and thank you to all of you for helping spread the word about solar cooking because it is a global movement. So to recap, you can include solar cooking in your life, work, and your country's nationally determined contribution or plans. You can access SCI's resources and contribute to them, and be a supporter of Solar Cookers International. We are actually fortunate to have many supporters on the call here today, so I would like to give a very personal and heartfelt thank you, because we cannot do this work without you. This is a global movement, and you are literally changing lives, so thank you so much. If you could go to the next slide, this shows ways for people to show that support, for you to also understand the amazing impact that you are having. I hope you feel an immense amount of pride and joy knowing and hearing about the lives that you have changed here today. And we hope many more people join this movement, because it takes all of us working together. So with that, thank you again so much for your time, for being a part of the solar cooking movement, and for changing the world. It's such an honor to work with you all and to be with you here today. And a very special, again, thank you to our guest speakers for sharing their voices on behalf of solar cooking. Take care.